language and literature. Language is the foundation of civilization. It is a means of connection. It also embodies culture. Above all, it helps us to create our identity. But language is only structure. Literature has texture. But language and literature are related. There was a time when people ignored language and they studied only literature. But nowadays, English teaching is English language teaching. But some of us believe that we cannot separate language and literature. Language without literature is blind. Literature without language is lame. Unless language is charged with significance, you can't create literature. And unless you analyze the components and constituents of literature, you cannot appreciate it. We can teach a language mechanically. You can teach language as simple grammar. You can teach language through grammar and translation. That was the old method by which we were teaching language. Later they moved on to structural approach to the teaching of language. Grammar translation method focus on giving rules of grammar. That is teaching about language, but we should not teaching about language, we must teach language. The real knowledge is not knowledge about things, but the knowledge of things. Therefore, we must make people use language not through rules. And they introduced a method called the structure comes situational approach to literature. They reduced language to a few structures. This is the book. Is this a book? What is it? How old are you? And by teaching the students these basic structural patterns, they thought the students can acquire the language. That's not the way to make the learners acquire the language. Structures are devitalized language. Suppose you just give a situation and make the students repeat the same thing again and again. It is not communication. It is duplication. It is repetition. Language cannot be learned through repetition. Language can be learned only through communication, by interaction, by responding to the irregular rhythms of life. So, the current focus in language teaching is communicative approach to language teaching. Let us not make people acquire grammar and then communicate. Let them acquire language through communication. It is not from knowing to doing. We must make people know through doing. So communicative approach gives importance to communication rather than grammar. Importance to fluency rather than accuracy. When we are doing something with a purpose, for fulfilling something, then we unconsciously acquire language. The best way to make students learn the language is to acquire it unconsciously in response to the variety of situations. Life has a series of limitless, boundless situations, and we learn our mother tongue not through grammar, by responding to life. So there must be something like that. And the language experts will say that we must create situations and we must make students use the language in the situation in order to fulfill certain needs and purposes. If the mother has taught us grammar, we would not have learned the mother tongue. She made us respond to the flower, the tree, everything. As we look at life, through life, we learn the language. It is learning through life. It is learning for life. It is learning throughout life. That is what Mahatma Gandhi said. Education is learning through life, learning for life, learning through life. Language also must be learned through life, for life, throughout life. And the best way to learn language is to teach it through simple literature. Because in literature, language acquires full significance. It is charged with significance. But it is using simple patterns. Instead of saying every day, this is a book, is this a book, what is it? Let our students listen to good poems. And by analyzing the poem, we can appreciate the poem. And when we appreciate the poem, we also acquire the language. This is what I mean by language through literature. I can also say language through literature through language. Let us look at a short, sweet poem by the great American poet, Robert Frost. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village now. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little house must think it quiet to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his heart as well a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound is the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lonely, dark and deep. But I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. It's a very simple, but a beautiful, profound poem. It is a poem about stopping by the woods in England or America when on a snowy evening. This is the example. Simple. The person suddenly stops his horse on a snowy evening. Why does he say snowy evening? In England and America, snow means beauty. And he is stopping. Where? Near the woods. I think I know where I am stopping, whose woods these are, but his house is not there. The map who is the owner of the house, will not see me stopping here. The owner will not be able to see that I am stopping here. Why am I stopping here? To watch his woods fill up with snow. The poet is describing the process of snow filling up the woods. What is the poet explaining or expressing here? He is expressing the process of snow filling the woods. It is a vision of beauty. And what the poet is emphasizing is the process. Look at the verb. What are the verbs he is using? Fill up, to watch. There are two kinds of verbs. One verb is the verb of perception, to watch. The other is the verb of movement, fill up. Throughout the poet is contrasting verbs of perception with verbs of motion. To stop. In the next stanza also he said, it is contrasted with think. My little horse must think it queer. Look at the word. Think. He is humanizing the horse. You see, the horse must be wondering why this man is stopping here. There is nobody. It is straight to stop without a farmhouse near. Where am I stopping? Between the woods and frozen lake. He continues what he said in the first stanza. But there is some development. What is the development? I am stopping between the woods and frozen lake. The connection is the snow has become now frozen lake. I am stopping between the woods and the frozen lake. What does frozen lake mean? The lake, I saw a TV news, I heard a news this morning. In Kashmir, it is full of snow. People are not able to see each other. And people are shifted from one place to another through helicopter. Why? Because everything is frozen. Between the woods and the frozen lake, what's the time? The darkest evening of the year. In the third stanza, he gives his harness bells a shake. Who gives the harness bells a shake? The horse. The horse cannot speak. The horse speaks through signs. It's a sign language. By shaking the bells, it is asking, why? Why are you stopping? The dogs, the animals, they have a way of communicating with us. He's asking, is there a mistake? To ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound is the sweep. Wow, what's the sound? The sound of easy wind and downy flake. The downy flake stands for, again, the snow. Throughout the poem, there is a snow. In the first stanza, it is filling the woods. In the second stanza, it becomes the frozen lake. The wind is touching, stirring the frozen lake. The frozen lake, and with its downy flake. And the poet comes to the conclusion, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. The poem has evolved. It's a beautiful summary. All that has been said in the earlier three stanzas is summed up in one line. What is the line? The woods are lovely, dark and deep. But it is not a simple summary. It is a universal statement. He says, the woods. It means two things. It means the woods I have been talking about. It also means all the woods. Those who know English grammar know the word the or the can be used for a number of purposes. One of the purposes is called the generic purpose. The other purpose is the particularizing purpose. The definite article can particularize a situation. Here is a book. The book is on the table. That means the book has been already mentioned. We are referring back to the same thing. Then it is a particularizing function. The woods is particularization. It also means universalization. He is not talking about one forest. He is talking about all forest. What is he saying about the forest? The woods are lovely, dark, and deep. In the first stanza, he referred to loveliness. In the second stanza, he refers to the darkness. In the third stanza, he is referring to its depth. In the final version, he is connecting all the three. And he says, the woods are lovely, dark, and deep. It shows the power of the beauty. So, here is the heavy attraction of nature. Nature is not a dead thing. It is a lively thing. It's a lovely thing. It's a dark thing. I am bound to listen to the voice of nature and enjoy that. The woods are dark, lovely, and deep. But immediately he says, why does he use but? There's a contrast. What does he contrast with? But I have promises to keep. The contrast between the first and second line in the last stanza is very important. The first line dealt with the beauty of nature. The second line deals with the power of duty. I have promises to keep. So this is the thing. The first stanza subject is the woods. The first line, the subject is the woods. In the second line, the subject is I. The first line, subject, verb, complement. In the second line, subject, verb, object. This is language. But this is language through literature because I have promises to keep shows the importance of human obligations. I cannot simply stop here and all the time watch beauty. The call of duty is more powerful than the vision of beauty. This is the emphasis of the poem. I used to enjoy a poem in my early days which says, I dreamed and thought that life was beauty. I woke up and found that life is duty. I used to translate it also like this. நான் கனவு கண்டேன் வாழ்க்கை அழகாக காட்சியளித்தது. நான் கண் விழித்து பார்த்தேன் அது கடமையாக தோன்றியது. I woke up and found that life is duty. This is what he said. I have promises to keep. Promises stands for obligations, responsibilities, duties. I have to keep promises. So what is the contrast in the first and the second line of the last stanza? The contrast is between the beauty of nature and the human obligations and social obligations. And he says, I would prefer to fulfill the human obligation to stopping by the woods. So, The poet wants to show that there is an oscillation between beauty and duty, between nature and man. When he's like a tragic hero. A hero is oscillating between his wife and sweetheart. Wife stands for duty and the sweetheart stands for beauty, like Kandaki and Madan. But like a Kovalan who has changed at the end, the poet also changes. It is all right. It is beautiful. I will enjoy it. But that's not enough. I must listen to duty. I must enjoy beauty, but I must fulfill my duty. That's what he says in the second line, and that is continued in the third line, which is repeated. What's the third line? And miles to go before I sleep. Here is a beautiful metaphor. There are two verbs. What are the verbs? To go to sleep. I mentioned it right in the beginning. The poem is full of the two kinds of verbs. The verbs of movement and the verbs of perception. What are the verbs of perception? Think, know, watch. What are the verbs of motion? Stop, go. Now let's look at the line. Miles to go before I sleep. The first word is miles. Why does he use the word miles? To show that he has a long way to come. He cannot afford to stop. And what is the real contrast? The contrast between going and sleeping. Okay? Sleeping is enjoyment. Going is duty, obligation. Which is better? Which is better? Going. To go is a process. There's no. To go is a process. When you use a word with the infinitive, you mean it is a process. What is he contrasting? As Keats is contrasting in the Ode on a Grecian Urn, he is contrasting permanence with beauty. He is contrasting permanence with duty. Beauty is associated with permanence. Duty is associated with process. What does the poet say? The poet prefers process to permanence, duty to beauty. And even the very verbs, the word go, the vowel is limitless. Whereas stop, the consonant is limited. The difference is very clear. To stop, the difference between the vowel and the consonant in English? In any language, the vowel is limitless. You cannot stop it. It can go on, go. But consonant is limited. So, through the sound, the poet is bringing the sense. What is the sense? I have a long way to go before I take rest. Life is not for enjoyment. Life is for endless quest, endless journey. And the real meaning of the poem is imperfect life is better than eternity. Mortality is better than frozen eternity. Subramania Bharati also says in one of his prose works, I don't want to be in the Gandharva world. The Gandharva world is beautiful, but it is frozen. I want to go back to the world of sorrow, to the world of suffering, to the world of ordinary life, and fulfill my duty. The poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening shows through its sounds, through its symbols, through its syntax, through its verbs, it shows that life is not for enjoyment. Life is for fulfillment of duties, and we must endlessly pursue our obligations rather than stopping by woods by a snowy evening. That is why Jawaharlal Nehru wrote this poem in his diary on the night before he left. It was very ironic because that was a long sleep for him. But always he felt what he felt was, it is better to work than to sleep. Thank you.